So, as a physicist and as an engineer, I'm also drawing up blueprints for the Build Back Better. I'm proposing my blueprints to Biden and members of Congress to make conduits disaster proof by being run through underneath the sidewalks, shallow conduits that are buried underneath the sidewalk that would make it uh, disaster proof. So no more will hurricanes be blacking out entire states. No more will natural disasters be blacking out entire states. So basically, by burying the conduit underneath the sidewalks in inner cities and in towns, the electrical grids of this country will be proof from destructions of natural disasters. Uh, if entire states get hit by a hurricane, they will not lose or their electricity or their access to electricity. And so, to build the American infrastructure for the future, I propose that we bury the conduits of the electrical supplies instead of having them on street poles. We should have the conduits running underneath the sidewalks, uh, and by doing that, we eliminate uh, hurricanes blacking out entire states. So let's say if a hurricane hits and there's street light poles, but the conduits are running underneath the ground. And an analogy is like imagine Christmas lights, the ones that if one light bulb in a Christmas light blacks out, the rest of them stays on instead of turning off. So when I was little, the street lights, the Christmas lights that we put on the tree, if one went out, all of them stopped working. But then they created Christmas lights that if one go out, the rest of them stay on. So that's my analogy to explain my theories of re-engineering America electrical grid infrastructure. So by burying the conduits underneath the ground, if a natural disaster hits and one light pole goes down, it won't affect the electricity of all the houses in that block. It won't affect the other poles from being affected if they stay up. So it lessens the chances of blackouts, and it's proof against tsunamis, hurricanes, tornadoes, and blizzards. At least the blueprints that I am trying to patent and will be proposing to the government to include in the Build Back Better plan would entail the conduits and all the electrical systems will be underneath the ground. And so, if, like I said, if a hurricane hits a city, and let's say, since all the conduit is buried underneath the ground and is protected against natural disasters, so if one light pole in the street light pole goes down, and that's the only light pole that goes down in that particular block or that particular district, it won't affect the rest of the district or even the block where the street pole light went down. Like the Christmas analogy, so if one light messes up, meaning a street pole, it doesn't black out the entire city or the entire district or blocks on in. So it's basically making America's electrical grids disaster proof, whether it be floods, whether it be hurricanes, tornadoes, even earthquakes. So it's basically fortifying America's electrical grids to take us into the future, to advance us into a more our infrastructure into a more superior infrastructure that's designed to deal with what this world has to offer as far as natural disasters. And the designs that I am designing and proposing is to make it so that if whatever natural disaster happens, people will still have access to electricity. And since they're protected, the designs that I'm engineering, they will be protected underneath the ground. So the only thing that will be above ground, like I said, will be street lamps, lanterns, street poles, light poles. So, but like I said, if a hurricane hits and whatever pole goes down, it doesn't affect the other poles, the other light poles. It doesn't affect the houses. It doesn't affect the block. It doesn't affect the district. It doesn't black out the cities. So none of these detriments or blackouts would occur. And that's the type of electrical grids that America needs. And it will be pulsar proof. So if let's say if this country is ever hit with a pulsaric weapon, it will be pulsaric proof. So not even a pulsar implosion of a nuclear weapon over the atmosphere of our lower altitude over our states will be able to black out our electrical grids. So it's even pulsaric weapon proof. So these are the designs that I'm engineering, and I believe that this fits into the Build Back Better plan, along with my technology for the world transportation systems. But this is how I see the electrical grids of tomorrow. The electrical grids that will be emulated throughout the world. Imagine you live in a city, like I said, or a state, or a country, and if a natural disaster hits, it doesn't black out the houses. It doesn't black out the cities, the towns, the state, or a region of a country, you know? So by being designed underground and fortified against natural disasters, people will be able to rebuild back from natural disasters and never lose access to energy. So let's say, how can I explain it other than to say that it is almost defying nature, the designs I'm doing, that stands up against the hardest natural disasters that a planet has to offer, and a country, cities, and states, districts, blocks will never lose access to electricity due to the cause of these natural disasters. So I believe that this fits into the Build Back Better initiatives that I am personally engineering to bring to the forefront of America, for Congress to understand that this is the way of the future.